And welcome to Pittsburgh Sports Now. I'm Mike Vikovcan, joined by a familiar face to WPIL and University of Notre Dame, and that's former Woodland Hills, Notre Dame, and NFL cornerback Darrin Walls, who is currently the defensive backs coach at Slippery Rock University. We're going to get into that to a second, but we want to mention we appreciate our Zoom interviews now here on Pittsburgh Sports Now are being sponsored by Leon's Billiard up in Wexford. Mike Leon stepped up and is sponsoring our segments here. He liked what he saw, and he's joining the family. They're your number one source in Western Pennsylvania for game room needs. He's been doing it for 30 years, best in the business. If you need pool tables, shuffleboards, video games, we're inside a lot now these days. If you're looking to add to your man cave or your downstairs, go check out Mike Leon up in Wexford, leonsbilliard.com or 724-934-5888. Darrin, we appreciate you joining us here on Pittsburgh Sports Now. And, before we get into what I brought you on here for is to talk about Paris Ford, give our listeners, our viewers, a little recap of what you're up to now up at Slippery Rock and how you're enjoying it.
Yeah, first of all, thanks, Mike, for having me. But yeah, like you said, I'm at Slippery Rock University now. I got hired there in February to coach the defensive backs, and it's been a good time so far. Obviously, with COVID-19, we've been kind of, limited to what we can do as far as with the team. We were getting ready for spring ball, and then everything happened. So as of now, we're just recruiting and evaluating and just trying to get our recruiting boards together so we can offer some kids some scholarships. So it's been fun just recruiting and keeping in touch with our kids and having Zoom meetings and just trying to keep them focused and keep them, in tune to everything that's going on.
What got you into coaching? Is that something that you eventually, once your athletic career ended, is that something that you knew you wanted to get into, or is this something that just came up and you thought you'd take a shot?
Yeah, well, I know, I eventually wanted to get into coaching. Um, I figured, football really wasn't my lifelong career, obviously, and I wanted to use football as a stepping stone to, get me to what my passion really was, and I was just helping the youth and helping kids, get to a place where, I once was, and so an opportunity came when Coach Cooley over at Baldwin High School asked me to be his defensive coordinator back in 2000 and was that 17 in 2017, and I had never really coordinated a defense before. I mean, I kind of knew what a defense should look like and how I would want my defense to be. So my first year as a coach, I was a coordinator, and it kind of, you know, took me by surprise. I learned a lot, and I actually, did pretty good, I think. And so I was there for 3 years, and then I knew that I really wanted to do this. And then so from there, I started reaching out to a few people, and I got in touch with some guys at Slippery Rock, and then we made that happen. But it was always something I wanted to do. I just didn't know when it would happen. And then opportunity came when Coach Cooley decided to go to Westminster College, and then that opportunity opened up.
All right, so WPL kids, there you go. Look for look for a call for Darrin Walls here. He's going to be, Cody Ross from Freedom went up there last year, so we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see what happens. But let's get you on. I saw a tweet the other day, and that's what led me to get a hold of you. And that was you're working with a person you're very familiar with. He's family, and that's Paris Ford. Um, tell me about that, and what you two are working on.
Yeah, so Paris is my younger brother. He's 10 years younger than me. So he always looked up to me, and I always helped him out throughout the years as I went away to school, and then I was in the league and stuff. So now I'm back home. I'm actually able to be around him more and help him with just things in life and not just football. And so um, Paris actually has been going through a rough time. I don't know if he wants me to speak on this, but he's lost a lot of people in his life, a lot of close people to him. So for me, I feel like it's a good time to just reach my arms around him and be around him as much as I can. And so, one of the things is his outlet is working out. And so we decided to hit the field And, we've been doing that. And for me, it's just to see him grow over the year has been amazing. He started last year at Pitt, obviously, and then he had a really good season. And so there are some things that I've seen in his film and on his tape that I felt like he can work at, and he knows it as well. So, we just got to get out on the field and we work at those things. He's a hard worker, and he's dedicated to his craft. And I think he's going to be a much better person this year, mentally and physically.
He's no doubt a guy that's draft boards, people for the 2021 NFL draft are already speaking at and projecting on. You've done it before. It's one thing to, for somebody else to say, oh, he needs to work on this. You've done it at the highest level. What are some things that you see that maybe you've pointed out to Harris that can, maybe take his game higher than it was last season?
We spoke about that, and obviously, physically, there are a bunch of things, not a bunch of things that he can work on, but one thing for sure, I think just when it involves football, the mental aspect, just being a smarter player, recognizing down and distance, recognizing offensive formations and splits from receivers, and just tendencies of what offenses do. And I think for him, being a first-year starter last year, a lot of things came at him fast and the game started to slow down. So now I think he can really zero in and focus on the release of receivers, the down and distance, and just the small details of what the game means when it comes to being dialed in mentally. Some of those things I think will help him out a lot. And, physically, we've been working on just his stride length when it comes to getting in and out of breaks. I think that's one thing that we pinpointed in his tape. Obviously, he's a very instinctive player. He's very physical, and so obviously we don't want to take those away from him and make the game much harder. But I think for him, those small points, if he can work on those and get better at those throughout the offseason and through camp and into the season, I think he'll be a much better player.
He just, when you look at the prototype safeties that play in the NFL today,
Mm-hmm.
I think from the day he got to Pitt, I don't know if it was totally fair, but people instantly projected him to the NFL, saying this guy has NFL written all over him as far as his ability goes. What are some special things or some things that you saw early on or still see that leads you to believe that he's going to be a guy that can not only excel in college but also in the NFL?
There's multiple things that I can speak of. I think we both grew up in the same neighborhood. We played for the same Little League football teams, and every year that I was on a team, I was almost the best player on that team for the most part. There's a couple teams I probably wasn't. My cousin was probably better than me my last year. But for him, every team that he's been on, he's been the best player. And I can say that from since he was 6 to now. I think he's probably the best college football safety there is out there. And just from watching him and looking at his stats compared to other safeties that were considered the best, they're right up there with them. And so I think it's on point for guys and people to mention him there being drafted in the first couple of days because he's earned that. I think he's shown that he has what it takes to be an NFL guy. Obviously, I played there for 5 or 6 years, and so I know what it looks like. And he can compete and he can play. And so it's just where and when. And I think for him this season, I think he'll have a lot more. I think he'll be a lot more in tune to the game. I think he'll make a lot more plays, and I think that'll only help him out in the long run. But like I said, he's always been the best player on every team he's been a part of, and he's always made that team better. And I think you can say that about the Pitt defense as well. Once he stepped on the field, I think that defense was a lot better. Not just him alone, obviously it's a collective group, but I think in the secondary, he made that team a lot better.
You're excited to see. I know he's very close with DeMar Hamlin. Being a WPL guy yourself, do you sense a little pride amongst yourself? Just being from here, doing it before, having Paris going out there with DeMar and starring and, being recognized, when college experts talk about the best duos in college football among
Right.
safety, they bring up DeMar and Paris. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. DeMar is like a little brother to me as well. Like he's been around our family for so long, and I'm excited to see that he's back and that they can work together. And their relationship and camaraderie that they have amongst each other, it only helps the defense and it helps them as well because they can play together, and they can make plays together. And that's what it's all about: just having fun with your brothers and being able to be out there and share those moments.
Last question, Darrin, is, I know this is something that's always, uh, are you also preparing Paris for, what he has on the field? That, but there's also a life off the field that he's also
Right.
going to have to, he's going to have to, most likely, unless he gets drafted by the Steelers, he's going to have to go, he's going to have to go away from home for the first time. And is that something you're instructing him on, or just giving him daily advice on, as far as, this season's almost like a job interview for him, as far as everything that goes on with him?
Yeah, there's so much that goes into it, and for him, I mean, I just want him to enjoy the process and have fun playing. I don't want him to lose sight of um, college football. I mean, this is one of the best times of his life, and being around the people that love him and care about him. I don't really want to put too much on him as far as the future, but we also know that it's coming. So we do plan for it. We do talk about it. But we will take it as it come. And for him, he's a one-track kind of minded guy. And so we want to keep him in the right direction and keep his focus straight so that when the time does come that for him to move on, I mean, he'll be prepared for it.
All right, Darrin, we appreciate it. Darrin Walls, current defensive backs coach at Slippery Rock and former NFL Woodland Hills Notre Dame star, joining us here on Pittsburgh Sports Now. We appreciate it. Maybe we'll check in with you during the season. We'll see what's going on up at the Rock. And
Yes, sir.
all the best this year when you get back on the field and on the recruiting circle.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, Mike.
All right, Darrin.
All right. Have a good one.
And our segment here on Pittsburgh Sports Now is once again sponsored by Leon's Billiard, your number one source for game room needs in Western Pennsylvania. Go check out Mike Leone up in Wexford, Perry Highway. You need a pool table, shuffleboard, video games, indoor arcade. Go check out Mike. His number 724-934-5888.